Hello, class. Um, my name is Eben Sumner, and I did my analysis at a local not-for-profit animal shelter. The shelter had a very small payroll overhead, um, management and coordinator department. And they were pretty heavy on the bottom end, basically being staffed with about 3,000 volunteers. However, not all the volunteers were active, but a smaller percentage of that 3,000. But they did rely on those volunteers for the majority of all the work, the daily opportunities, or the daily duties and tasks that they had done. My research question was, how does communication from coordinators to volunteers function in the organization? I chose this because I needed to narrow down my focus, basically. And after I made this choice, I spoke to my contact at the research at my research facility, and she had said to me that she agreed with that question, and actually that was her biggest concern, because currently they were having problems connecting to the 3,000 volunteers and getting good feedback, and she was looking forward to understanding why or where that communication breakdown was. The two forms of data collection that I used were a survey and an interview. In the survey, I sent it out to the entire, or ideally it was to be sent out to the entire volunteer community through their email server. They had everybody's email address, and that was their major form of communication. So the survey was to be sent out to everybody, and then the first 20 random completions I was going to use as my data. The second form of data collection was an interview, and I created an interview and ended up doing 2 mock interviews. Ideally, I was going to do 3 volunteers at the shelter at random, and that didn't end up working out. So I was going to do an analysis of their information packet for new volunteers. They had a DVD to watch, and they had some forms to fill out, and I was trying to get in touch with the contact that took care of all that information to get that packet from them. In the end, I ended up going with 2 mock interviews that I set up through friends here at home. The findings or results were actually pseudo data that I got from Dr. Curry. So I'm not going to go and read through that information. It's on the handout if you want to look at it. Conclusions were that the channels that were being used were okay, meaning like email, bulletins, but the information that came through the channels wasn't strong enough to inspire, motivate, or provide clarity to the message. So keep in mind, this is all mock data, but I kind of think by the experience that I had with trying to work with these people at the shelter, and kind of the small discussion that we have, I think that would be actually right on that, email was their main way of communicating, but it seemed like the messages weren't either being read or um, a lot of weight wasn't given to them. So based on the pseudo data, the recommendations were to develop programs that would address the issues of inspiring and motivating and trying to provide clarity in the message. And that these programs to be developed would delve deeper into the issues that were discussed to try to discover a way to fix the problem. Significant challenges to overcome this project. Well, the major problem was trying to contact the director at the facility. It took at least 2 or 3 tries via text message, email, calling the business, just to get one response, and that was every time I had to make a response, or every time I had to make contact. It would take that much work to get a response. When I did get a hold of somebody, information was very small. Definitely, if I asked for 3 questions, if I had 3 questions, only one would be answered. The email addresses I was given, only half of them worked. Pretty much the information I was trying to get from the person in charge of the survey, or the DVDs rather, for the new volunteers, I never could even get in contact with them, so I never got any of that information. Basically, after 2 months of this really poor communication, we decided, Dr. Curry and I decided that we had to scrap it just to be in time constraints. Basically, I mean, that's a huge sign for me that just focusing on the communications between the volunteers and the coordinators would not be enough. If I was actually being paid to do this, they'd probably, take me a little more seriously. But I think that the report would show, a lot of areas that had to be focused on. So kind of bummed out that it didn't work out, but I am thankful for, the beginning of the process that I got to do, in real life scenario. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and even more unfortunate for them, I think that they really could use an analysis like this to show, what was missing, because obviously there's a lot in communication that's missing. So after I was provided with the data from Dr. Curry, the pseudo data, everything was pretty smooth sailing after that. Trying to come up with the interviews was difficult, the mock interviews, because I had to explain, kind of, they had to be really creative, my interviewees, which worked out, but it was difficult to, explain to them the pseudo data and then have them kind of adapt that into their creativity. And then kind of splicing the real time or real world experience with the pseudo data was also a little difficult. So the report seemed a little patchy to me, because I felt like I was working with 2 scenarios. So trying to meld them together was a little more difficult than I anticipated. But other than that, I think it was an overall good experience, and I kind of wish it worked out for me in a real world setting completely, but I guess that's kind of what you deal with when you're doing something for free. Um, yeah, that's it. Overall, it's a good experience, and I wouldn't mind looking into this further. Maybe, I think it'd be kind of fun to, look at this as a career, and obviously it wouldn't happen here in Hawaii because I don't think anything like that exists, or I didn't find anything like that out here anyway. So, but overall, it's good. Okay, thank you.